Wednesday. You know what that means? Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm your host, Maddie Margarita, here with Diana Pardee on tech. Every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., SCWA turns our Facebook page over to a new or not so new writer, depending on who we have, to talk about their books and their work. This morning, we are thrilled to have with us again Dana Hammer. Dana is the author of The Cannibal's Guide to Fasting. There's something you don't say every day. And many short stories and novellas, which have been published in various anthologies, magazines, and journals. Her middle grade fantasy novel, My Best Friend Athena, will be released from Cinnabar Moth in February of 2023. She has never eaten human meat. Good morning, Dana.
Good morning.
So congratulations. So The Cannibal's Guide to Feasting, released when?
Yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Hot off the presses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brand new.
So tell us a little bit about the book. And I think the premise is so germane to things that are happening today and looking around, and it's very interesting. So tell us about that.
Thank you. So yeah, it's about Igor, and Igor is a disgraced former scientist. He's 6'7". He's a bodybuilder. He has got a giant spider tattooed on his face, and he has been infected with viral cannibalism. So in this world, a lot of people have been infected with viral cannibalism. And when they're infected, the government sends them to rehab, where they kind of learn how to wean themselves off the urge to eat human meat. Igor has been sent to rehab, and now he lives in a containment center, which is basically a trailer park. And he is doing his best to abstain from human meat, and his life is kind of sad and lonely. He doesn't have a lot of friends anymore. And he's just kind of doing his best to make it through the day. But then he finds out that his brother has set up a cannibal rights cult. And at first it just seems kind of like, oh, it's political. They want to have their rights. They want to live outside the containment centers. That's fine. But then we find out that they're actually doing some pretty evil things. So Igor has to get involved.
Call to action.
Yep.
Okay. So I know the burning question in everyone's mind is, why cannibalism? Where did that come from?
I've always been kind of fascinated with cannibalism, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but like I love, Hannibal Lecter and all that Silence of the Lambs type stuff. And, I studied a little bit of it in college when I did some research on the Osmot people in Papua New Guinea. So I don't know, I think cannibalism is fascinating. And, I think zombies are kind of played out right now. And this is kind of maybe the next thing. I think cannibals need to have their run.
That movie that's doing so well right now in Venice, all that in the bones. Did you see
that?
I
haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's about cannibalism. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she is right on the bleeding edge of what's next.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you hear that, the summary, I'm not even sure the summary does it justice. Does the journey justice, because it's really, your writing is so funny. And, from the very beginning, I've always loved your writing.
Thank you.
Rosemary's Baby Daddy, still up there for me. So how do you approach writing a story like this? I mean, the humor and the creativity and all the other good stuff too.
Well, this novel in particular, I approached it kind of piecemeal. I actually started it as a short story several years ago, and it was just about Igor. I liked the idea of this, I always like a story about a gentle giant, someone who's really scary, but deep down they're kind of tenderhearted and good. And so I just started, and I thought, what's more scary in a gigantic man than uncontrollable lust for human meat. So I kind of started, I started with him, and then I was like, well, what kind of world is this where a guy like this is a cannibal? And it kind of branched out from there. So and then it didn't seem like a short story was enough to really encapsulate him and his journey. So I just kind of went from there.
Well, one of the things I thought was so interesting, book in the premise is how you decided to um, describe society's reaction to this and to the problem. And
Yeah.
I mean, it has a, I mean, as entertaining as it is on its face, you know, three layers down, there's a story in there that's not all that pretty when we talk about humanity. So
Yeah.
when you were writing the book, was that theme um, in the forefront, or did that just come out when you were writing?
No, it was intentional. Really, what I was thinking about when I was writing this was specifically, I was thinking about drug addiction and how we treat addicts in our society. How, there's this temptation to demonize them and punish them and, um, you know, treat it as if it's a moral failing. And, that's not fair because I think pretty much we all recognize that it's a disease. At the same time, we can't ignore the fact that addicts do often do really bad things in the service of their addiction. Um, they hurt other people a lot of time. And so we can't just gloss that over. It's that balance between compassion and realism that is hard to strike. And I think with any kind of addiction, whether it's, human need or drugs or gambling or whatever. So yeah, that was kind of my thinking with it. And I wanted to, there isn't really an easy solution to any kind of problem with addiction other than coming up with a cure for addiction itself. And so that's kind of what I wanted Igor to do. I wanted him to come up with a cure.
So because that, and I've read stuff that you've written about addiction and possible solutions and things like that. So I know this is important to you. So how did you manage to still keep the the theme um, present, but not overbearing and preachy, not hitting somebody over the head with that? Because you do such a
Yeah,
good job with that.
thank you. And that was actually a challenge. I don't like to be preachy. I don't like to think of myself as a preachy, moralizing person, but I do also want to make a point sometimes. So um, all I can say is I don't know how I did it, but I tried.
Well,
So
I think you're so good with humor. Um, and I don't know. Now, let's talk about your other work. So, you've written some interesting screenplays, you've written all kinds of different things. So, how do you decide what you're going to write at any given time?
so right now I'm actually working on 3 projects. So I think you already mentioned my middle grade novel is coming out. And sorry, that's my dog. One sec. Um, so my middle grade novel is coming out in February, and so I'm working on a sequel to that. Basically, it's about where. I'm sorry about that.
Y'all have dogs.
So her best friend Athena is the reincarnation of the Greek goddess Athena, and in this one, her brother Bacchus or Dionysus comes back, and he's the god of revelry and partying or whatever. And
And
his
Athena is war, right?
hmm?
Was Athena is war, right? If I
Yeah,
remember correctly, or
she's the goddess of like all kinds of stuff, like
yeah.
war and art and mathematics and I don't know, a bunch of stuff.
Right.
But he's gonna enter a ice cream eating contest. So it's a kid's book, so it's cute.
I
Um,
I can't wait for that. It'll be fun.
thank you. And then I'm working on a stage play about a teenage boy who gets recruited to be the next Grim Reaper. And then I'm working on a screenplay that I'm kind of thinking is going to be a little more family oriented, but also horror, about 2 little boys. And one of them is kind of like a psychopath. He's a bully, and he gets stuck in a dollhouse. And the brother who he bullied is now in charge of him. So,
Yeah, every kid's dream who's ever had a
yep.
sibling. Yeah, exactly. So why horror? Why do you write in that genre? What is it about horror Keeps
I
you
think
coming
it's the
back.
same reason that I do comedy. I think it's just always asking what if. I think that horror and comedy are both really two sides of the same coin. And I think that um, writing one is basically just kind of the other side of the other. And so I like to ask what if, and I like to explore that.
So you are writing in two genres that don't always get the level of appreciation that they earn, that they deserve. So why do you think that is? I mean, it's so much harder to write humor, and it takes a lot more imagination to create something new and different that people are not used to seeing, that they can't go on YouTube or turn on Netflix every day and see. So
Yeah,
why that? Why do you think that is, and why don't people recognize how difficult
I think that, it's just, it's so subjective what people find tolerable and what people find funny. There's always those people who are very sensitive in any kind of violence, any kind of profanity, any kind of, they don't want anything gritty in their entertainment. They just want to they want to relax, they want to smile, they want to be entertained, and they don't want to be challenged in that way. Um, and I think with humor, that's just really subjective. You know, if you talk to certain people, I'm always amazed at what they think is funny. I'm like, okay. Um, but and then I'm sure people think that about the stuff I write. Like, that's not funny. That's sick. What's wrong with her? So I think that it's not so much that they're not appreciated. I think it's that they're not appreciated by everyone. You know what I mean? Um, you can write a literary novel about, a family that goes back to their beach house and secrets are revealed. And that's going to please most people because most people can relate. Most people have a family. Most people have family secrets. And it's not really, it's not outside their comfort zone. But I think that there are a lot of people who do like to be taken outside of their comfort zone. And those are my audience.
but that's the best description I think I've ever heard of why that happens.
Thanks.
And you'll also have an anthology story out, right?
Yes, a couple of them coming out. One you're in.
Yeah, and one prominently featured behind me.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so I reread your story last night. I reread Meteorite, which was okay. Talk about whiplash. I mean, I did not
yeah.
see that coming. Um, where where did you get the impetus for that?
Um, I guess I was just kind of thinking about like again, like what if you accidentally drugged someone and you didn't mean to, and like it was just an honest accident? And what if you were like a middle-aged man, it's a teenage girl, that's really creepy. And so I thought that would be a terrible situation to be in. And then I started to write it, um and the more I wrote it, the more I got into this guy's head, and I thought, is this an accident? Is this just a honest mistake? So I wanted to make the readers really question whether this is a reliable narrator or not.
You had me until you didn't want me anymore, and then you threw me out. So it was great.
Good.
So just so people know, I mean, you write, like you said, a variety of things. What is it that you hope that people experience when they read something new?
I want people to just kind of come along with me on the journey, and um, I want them to be entertained, and I want them to think, and I just want to make that connection with them and feel like I've done something good for them, I guess.
Well, I think you definitely have met your goal in everything that I've read that you've written. I wish you so
Thank
much luck
thank
on
you.
the Cannibal's Guide. Go watch what's happening now in Venice.
Yeah,
See
no, I'm
the
going to.
movies because I think that would be a big thing.
Yeah, that
Um,
sounds really good.
right. And where can people find your book?
Well, it's a Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble,
So
pretty much
everywhere.
anywhere you can buy a book, pretty much. Yeah.
So if you guys are looking are out there, it's hot, the end of summer. If you're looking for something that's entertaining that will take you somewhere different and be amused, but still stimulate your brain, pick up Cannibal's Guide to Feasting. All right, Dana. Well, best of luck. Thank you. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. Yeah, everybody else, thank you for being here also. Please stay safe, have fun, keep reading. Until next time, this has been the Hump Day Book Tour, and I'm your host.